Larry Kudlow, a Newsmax finance insider, host of the Larry Kudlow Show on Cumulus Radio, by the way, every Saturday. And Larry, by the way, I'm going to be filling in for Chris Plant on Cumulus this Friday and then next week, so I'm very excited about that. But Donald Trump went on to say that the wave of globalization has totally, he said it twice, wiped out our middle class. You agree?
Well, look, I think these trade deals he talks about are very flawed. Okay, now you're talking to a guy who's a free trader usually, but I really think that if our trading partners like China or Japan or Mexico, if they're going to break the deal, if they're going to break the law, we need to do something to protect America about that. I mean, we just do. China, steals our property rights, counterfeits our goods, cyber hacks into our government and our corporations. This stuff's got to be stopped. You've just got to bring them to the negotiating table. And frankly, I don't like tariffs at all. And Trump didn't recommend across-the-board tariffs today. But if they won't change, then you're going to have to punish them. You're going to have to enact something that will get them back on the right track, or at least try to. And that's the way I saw Trump's speech today. Was we've got to have a level playing field. He's for free trade. He's also for fair trade. And I don't have any problem with that. I mean, I think that particular point, I may not agree with everything he said, but that particular point is a good one in my view.
I'm telling you, we're looking at, can we go back to the B-roll of that? I don't know where he was standing, but I kind of liked that the background he had, and he looked good. He had a nice suit on. You can't get the B-roll back up there. Anyway, he presented it very well, I thought also. But, Hillary is quick to react and say that he wants a trade war with China. And, she goes forth with this Chapter 11. All his books end in Chapter 11. What I'm afraid of is this was a great speech, and it said the right things for the most part. But can he get the message home to the disenfranchised blacks, the disenfranchised Hispanics, the disenfranchised whites, for that matter, and translate it to, I can help you, I'm a businessman, Hillary's a liar, she never gave anyone a job in her life. Can he get it down to that level?
Well, I think he can. He gave a very disciplined speech today. And he also had a whole section that I guess nobody's covering, so I'm going to cover it. He had a whole section on the need for economic growth. He talked about deep tax cuts for businesses particularly. He talked about rolling back regulations to help businesses. He talked about expanding energy and unleashing all manner of energy, whereas Hillary wants to end fossil fuels and fracking. Now, this is a very important point, because if we grow the economy at 4 or 5%, which is what we should be doing, then I think, people will be less grumpy. And second of all, people will have more job opportunities. And what's happened in the last 15 years is we haven't grown, and the job opportunities have fallen way short. So that's an important part of Trump's speech. And let me just add one thing quickly, Steve. A lot of the disputes are about taxation. In other words, China taxes American exports to China, which are imports.
Right.
China taxes our exports to China. We don't tax their exports. We've never had that. Now, we've got to level that playing field. The same is true for Mexico, incidentally. The same is true for almost every country. They have VAT taxes, and we don't. So what you got is Americans are at a competitive loss on that, and that's got to be fixed. And these external commissions, the Pacific trade deal may sound good, and parts of it may be good, but disputes are going to be referred to some international trade commission where we're not going to be able to defend American interests. So Trump's got some really strong points here on growth and playing fair and going by the rules.
All right, Brexit. The market crashed 2 days in a row, and today it gained, it kind of made up for the second day's losses. Where do you think, what I love, Larry, is how the media, they explained that the people in Britain had regret. They didn't know what they were voting for. And how do they know that? Because the most Googled thing in Great Britain was Brexit. Like, what is it? Oh, so it implies that they voted for something they didn't know what it was. You know what? How about the half of the population who stayed home and didn't vote? Maybe they're the ones Googling and saying, what happened? Because we didn't vote.
Well, look, that's just more elitist stuff, how stupid ordinary British folks are. They do the same thing here. I'm a big supporter of Brexit. I call it Magna Carta 2.0. It's about liberty. It's about independence. It's about parliamentary democracy, none of which exists in the European Union, which is a bunch of socialist, left-wing, unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats driving the European economy into the ground. I think Britain made exactly the right deal. They will fix the trade issues. They will open up trade to the U.S. and Canada, by the way. They will fix the trade issues. They will remain a financial center, a worldwide financial center. It ain't going to Frankfurt or anything silly.
Right.
And Britain will have an opportunity, to stay on track and keep lowering taxes as they have, try to roll back regulations and grow their economy. As long as they're under the thumb of the EU, they won't be able to do that. So I think this story has a happy ending. You kind of have to ride through the market volatility right now.
All right. Larry, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much.